Hey guys, just a quick note before we get into the Kali Linux install. But if you guys like super cool builds of different types of PCs for different purposes, you're going to want to subscribe to the channel because I've started filming the design process for this dual EPYC 7551 CPU XM rig miner that's going to have custom hardline water system and a custom open chassis designed and fabricated by me. We're going all out for this one, guys. It's going to be an amazing build. So if that's something you want to see, be sure to like and subscribe. Hey guys, Mike here with Crazy Cyber logging on. And today we are going to be installing Kali Linux on the Acer Aspire 5 that we are setting up and building for ethical hacking purposes and training. The information in this video will apply to installing Kali Linux on any machine, so sit back and let's get into it. So the first thing that we're going to need in order to set this laptop up and install Kali Linux is we are going to need what's called a bootable drive with a Kali Linux image on it that can be installed. So an etcher is basically an open source tool that's used to flash a Kali Linux ISO onto an SD card or a USB drive. And the term ISO means identical storage image of optical media. So it basically is like would be the same as back in the day copying things to a CD. So in this video, I'm going to be recommending the Balena Etcher. I don't have a relationship with Balena, but I like their product. I think it has a really clean UI. It's super easy to use, and I've never had any problems with it. You can download it, as you see here, from their official website in the download section. Make sure you select the proper operating system and architecture for the system that you are using. Now, once that has been downloaded, we're going to now go need to find our Kali Linux ISO. And that we are going to be grabbing from none other than the official Kali site. And in the spirit of cybersecurity, it's always better to download an image for an operating system from the official site. Because unless their site has been compromised, you can pretty much guarantee that there's no weird code or software or anything like that on the disk image that you're going to be installing, right? It would suck if you got it from an aftermarket website and it had some sort of rootkit already on it, or spyware or extra bloatware or adware or any of those things that we want to try to avoid. So we're going to go ahead and grab it from Kali's official site here. So as you can see on the official Kali website, that there are a lot of different options to choose from. We want installer images. We're not going to be installing this in a virtual machine. We're not doing mobile. We're not doing any of the other things. We only want the installable ISO image. So we are going to download that, and we're going to, it doesn't really matter where we put the file as long as you can easily access it when you use the Balena Etcher. So while that's downloading, we'll just go over the Balena Etcher GUI real quick. So you can see we got several options. We can actually flash it from the Kali Linux URL. We can clone another drive, or we can flash from a file, which is the option that I always choose. I believe this to be the safest. Theoretically, your browser could be compromised and you could have cross-site scripting. And even though that would probably be somebody who's capable of that would probably be able to affect your download in some way, I still feel this is the safest route to take. So once the image is downloaded, as you see here, we're going to pull that to the Balena Etcher. Now at this point, you would have your flash drive that you want to use plugged into the system that you're running the Etcher on. And then we would go ahead and select the target. And that's the second option in the three-step process. So as you see there, I just plugged my drive in. It's got the drive letter D, and we select that from the options here. Then you select it, and then just click flash, and you're on your way to a bootable Kali Linux ISO. Okay, so here I apparently must have stopped the video and I lost the footage, I guess, when I was cleaning out my computer. But the Balena Etcher GUI would show you the process of the flash, and when it's done, you can then just eject the disk, and you are ready to install your Kali Linux. Alright guys, so in the last part of this video, I showed you guys how to use Balena Etcher to create a bootable Kali Linux USB drive. And that is what this is right here. So we are going to go ahead and begin the installation process, and all we have to do, because this computer has the new SSD that we put in, the only thing that we need to do is plug this in and turn on the machine, and the install should immediately begin. If you are installing Kali onto a laptop that has Windows or another operating system already on it, you are going to have to access the BIOS of your computer in order to select a boot drive. I will go through the process of that at the end of the video and just show you how to access the boot drive and how to select the boot device for those of you that are going to want to put Kali onto a machine that already has an OS on it. So we're going to power on the machine. Okay, so as you guys can see, Kali went straight to the install. If your computer has another operating system, you would have to turn it on, and then as soon as you see your laptop's logo or whatever screen comes on when you first start your computer, you would have to hit the key on the keyboard that corresponds to your BIOS key. Some computers have different keys for it. A lot of the common ones are delete, F12, F2, and there are a few more that some laptops have. A quick Google search for what is my BIOS key and then the name and model number of your computer will give you the information that you need. So we're going to begin the graphical install. We have several options from this menu. We have the graphical install, advanced options, accessible dark contrast installer menu, and install with speech synthesis. Now, if you are new to Kali Linux, I highly recommend just going through the graphical install, but if you are a more seasoned Kali Linux user, you might want to play around with some of the advanced options on the install. So we're going to select graphical install, and we are going to let the process begin. Alright, in the first screen you're going to select your language. I'm in the US and I speak English, so I'm going to select English, which is the default. I'm also in the United States, which has always been the default for me. I don't know if it does something with GPS to know I'm in the United States, so it automatically selects United States. I'm not sure, but it's always been defaulted to United States for my install. So I'm going to select that. I speak American English. This is where it detects the installation media and reads the components from the bootable drive that we created using Balena Etcher. Okay, so now it's going to be asking for your network hardware. So as you can see, there are a ton of options here, and usually it just comes up with WLAN or whatever your Ethernet interfaces are. So I'm going to go ahead and try to find WLAN 0, which would be your default wireless access point. So I don't see it there, so I'm going to select none of the above. Okay, so this is telling me that a driver for my hardware is not available, and that I'm going to need to load drivers. I'm going to select yes here to see if it can find it on the USB bootable drive. Interesting, it did not do this last time. I'm just going to select no Ethernet card for now. Okay, so we bypassed that. Okay, so it's not finding these files. Okay, so it's not finding these firmware files on my bootable drive. I've been using this for a long time. I don't know if that is an issue. So we're going to manually select the network interface and see if we can't get it to come up in the list. After a quick Google search, it looks like we have the Qualcomm Atheros QCNFA 435A Wi-Fi / Bluetooth combo module. Okay, so it did find it. So either in that process it found the firmware files on the bootable device, or all we needed to do was bypass it, because we have our wireless network adapter here. It looks like it's a different model number than the one that came up from Acer's website, which is a little bit weird, but it found our Ethernet driver, as well as our WLAN driver, our WLAN 0, our interface, excuse me. So we're going to select the LAN 0. Okay, so I am going to enter in to my network. I've blurred out my network for privacy reasons, the name of it obviously. And I am going to which is obviously blurred out for security reasons, and it's going to get the connection and download the files that it needs to install. Now here is the host name for the system. and this is how the device is going to appear. I have multiple Kali machines on my network, so I'm going to name it Acer underscore Kali. Okay, so it looks like I cannot use underscores there. Okay, so this part, it is not necessary for you to give a domain name to your system unless you are going to be setting up a server or or you're going to be doing some networking stuff where you need a domain name. So we are just going to leave this blank, but naming this .local is something that you can do that's considered best practice if you do want to fill out this field. I will cut in a video better explaining this, but for right now we are going to leave this blank. So this is where you enter your name. Now this is going to be the username. So this is going to be what you log into the machine with. I recommend at this point that you have either your notepad on your phone or a journal and pen and paper of some sort, and you record your username and your password. And it's also very important to remember that in Kali these are case sensitive. The username as well as the password. Obviously the password is case sensitive, but the username is also case sensitive in Kali Linux. If you try to log in and you forgot that you made it all lowercase and you're capitalizing things, it will not let you log in. So you're going to want to make sure you remember the case syntax as well as the actual username itself. So now you're going to enter in a password. I'm going to blur mine out for obvious reasons. Okay, now we select our time zone, and here's where it's going to detect our disks. And I showed you guys in the previous video where we uploaded, where we upgraded our internal M.2 SSD to a 1 terabyte model from a 512 gigabyte model. So we're going to use a guided install which uses the entire disk. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And here you can see at the top here, it immediately found our 1 terabyte drive that we installed. When I chose the parts for this PC, I spent some time researching, making absolute sure that the drive I selected was going to be compatible with this computer. Some laptops have limits on the SSD that you can install, and it can't be over a certain size. I also have a HP Envy that's running Linux, and I wanted to upgrade that one. So initially I put a 1 terabyte drive in that, and Kali never found it, and I did some research and I came to find out that 512 gigabytes was the maximum size supported by that computer for some reason. So when you're looking to upgrade the drive in your laptop, make sure it's compatible. There's also restrictions like that on RAM as well, so just make sure you know your computer's limitations before you order parts to upgrade. So we're going to go ahead and select our 1 terabyte disk, and we are going to put all of our files in one partition, and that is just the easiest way to do this. You can see it's recommended for new users. If you have more experience and you are very security conscious, you can put separate directories into different partitions, Like you can have a partition for your home directory, your root directory, and then you can then encrypt those drives later to make them extremely secure and pretty much unreadable by anybody who would gain access to your computer. So we're gonna select all files in one partition. We are going to finish the partitioning and write the changes to the disk. This gives you some information on the partitions and how it's going to do it. So we are going to just finish this and let Kali Linux do its thing. You have other options, and like I mentioned before, you can configure your encrypted volumes. You can configure logical volume manager, software RAID, guided partitioning, and there's Kali Linux is extremely user. It's like you can kind of customize it however you want. Like if you want to have your root directory in a partition that's completely encrypted, you can do that. That's some more advanced stuff. We might get into that later in some different videos. Maybe I'll get another machine and we'll kind of go into some configuring some encrypted volumes. But this PC is just going to live on my home network, and it's not going to have any sensitive information on it. It's pretty much going to be set up with some vulnerable versions of Apache just to practice some penetration testing with the Metasploit framework. So we're not going to worry about encryption or anything like that right now. Also, there are programs to do that. So if you're not super familiar with Kali, there are programs you can download that'll encrypt things for you. So it's telling me everything's going to be formatted, and it told me that the partition tables of the device are changed. And so we are going to write those changes to the disk. We're going to actually go in and change the partition now. So I'm going to go ahead and select yes, and it should begin writing the changes to the disk. This is where the speed of your SSD can change how long that this process takes. This process usually doesn't go extremely quickly. I mean, relatively it's pretty fast, but compared to the network stuff and everything and getting files from the boot drive, it's much slower compared to that. And the speed of your SSD will affect this. Okay, now is where you select what is gonna be installed with the Kali Linux environment. You can see there's several different options here, and we want all of this. We want the tools, the top 10 most popular tools. We want all the default settings. So we are gonna go ahead and just hit continue on this. Alright guys, so you can see it finally finished after a doogler. Now here we are. So we're going to go ahead and open the graphical user interface, or the GUI. Now we have Kali Linux fully installed on our system. So I am going to log in. And here we are, full Kali Linux. You can see we got all of our tools in here. And you can see this is clearly a penetration testing distribution. There are a lot of others, and everybody has their favorite Linux distribution, and there's a lot of arguing online about which one is the best. I think they're all awesome in their own way, and they all have, things they're good at versus others. I personally like Kali Linux. But you can see we have tons of penetration testing tools here. In future videos, I'm going to be going over ones like Medusa and John the Ripper. We'll go over Aircrack NG and Y-Fight. And there's just so many. Here's the Metasploit framework. We're going to open up a root terminal here. And so we're going to go MSF console. Go ahead and write that. And then it's going to start. Forgot the S there, but I mean, you can see that there's just a massive amount of penetration testing tools with built-in exploits, and there's just Kali Linux. You could learn it your entire life and still not know everything. So in future videos, we're gonna start turning this machine into a penetration testing machine. We're gonna download some phishing programs. We're going to download Scapy, which is a packet crafting program, and we are going to just turn this machine into a lean, mean penetration testing machine. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it helped you, and you should really go ahead and put Linux on one of your computers. There's ways to do dual boot, so you could have Windows and Linux. If that's something you guys want to see, let me know, and I'll make a video on creating a system with dual boot with Windows and Kali Linux. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. We have a ton of new products on crazycyber.com. We're constantly adding new stuff to the site. We're adding digital products as well. I'm gonna look into start creating, ebooks and guides for things like Nmap and Metasploit framework and Kali Linux and a bunch of other stuff as well. So be sure to check out crazycyber.com. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Start working, refining, and perfecting your skills and become as dangerous as possible. Mike with Crazy Cyber, logging off.